supposed to be up there, but I'm down there. I think I'm back on the trail now. I'm not sure. It was weird. I was walking through, I think, a dry riverbed. It's so weird that in the span of a short run, I'm this far removed from civilization. Or at least it seems. Anyway, but, alright. Now it feels like I can actually do some running. And I'm having a good time, I think.
21.72 miles, 9 minutes, 28 seconds per mile, 150 beats per minute, running a little bit hot, but it was a challenging day out there today. Ended up being out there, well, about the distance that I was looking for, but for a lot longer than I was thinking. I didn't realize how trail this path that I had chosen was going to get. And then I was running a little bit late on time, so I had to pick up the pace just a little bit. So straight out of my normal heart rate range, but in either event, having a fantastic time running in Austin for the first time and enjoying the new Camelbak Zephyr. And it turned out this was the absolute perfect pack for me to have for my little adventure for today. But before I get into my detailed thoughts on this running pack, I do want to go over some disclosures. This is a running pack that was sent to me for the purpose of review. However, no one's paying me to make this video or to use this vest, and no one's going to get a chance to preview any of my thoughts or see any of this footage before you guys get a chance to see this on YouTube. Now, with the disclosures out of the way, let's talk about the Camelbak Zephyr. Now, it's a lightweight vest. I'm not sure I would call it a race vest, but it is definitely something that I would consider for racing or for shorter adventures just like today. Let's start with the back in terms of explaining what's going on here. There's a nice stretchy area that you could put a lightweight jacket or something that you needed to reach quickly, maybe something that you're putting in and out in the rear area. And then there's a zipper pocket back here, which I think is really useful. You can either put a water reservoir, which is not included with this particular vest, or any other things that you might not necessarily need or you don't think you're gonna need but wanna have on your person anyway. The other thing that's really nice about this pack is that there's a secure zipper pocket, a little one in here where you can fit like keys or other things that you know you're not going to need, but also want to make sure they're secure for like when you get back to, say, a car or to your hotel room if you're traveling, that kind of thing. So a nice secure area for things that you don't want to lose back there, but stuff that you're not going to really need. Now, this area back here, you can put either clothes or other gear or a water reservoir through here, and there are dual tubes or ports on each side, so that way you can send in the hose, and then there's also straps here to kind of keep all the hoses from bouncing around too much as you're running if you want to do that. There's also straps so that you can attach your poles if you have poles. I've never owned poles or used poles, so this is not all that useful for me, but I think for a lot of you guys this is a feature that you're going to like. And then there's also a whistle in case you need to have a whistle on your person as well. Moving to the front, everything is like a super flexible and stretchy and very thin mesh. So very comfortable to have even on, well, what's a relatively warm day for the winter for me, coming from Chicago where temperatures were dropping far below freezing to running in Austin where it was in the 50s and 60s today. It was nice to have all the ventilation on this vest. And on the front, you've got a setup that's really similar to the Camelbak Octane that I've been run commuting in. And I thought it would be pretty much exactly the same, that I would have all the same kind of likes and dislikes of that system that I have here, but it's slightly different, or at least it felt slightly different. But in either event, let's go over what you get. You get, with the pack, you get 2 of these soft flasks from Camelbak, which were really nice to use. Each one holds about a half a liter, I think, or a full, like my clean canteen. It holds a full amount of liquid of that, which I ended up filling this up with some Univet drink mix. I thought it might be a little bit too much liquid, but again, since I kind of got lost a couple times today, it ended up being the right amount of fluid to have. So this thing holds a surprising amount of fluid in there. The mouth to get liquid in there is nice and large, so I was able to pour in my fluids relatively easily. And then there's a couple of features on the top that I like as well. There is a way to prevent any water from spilling out. There's a little dial that you turn, and then when it's in this configuration, then you can actually drink out of it. If you do this, then no matter how much jostling there is going around, water isn't, or your fluids aren't going to leak out. And then you have to kind of fight the cap here when you do want to take a drink. So you kind of 2 ways of making sure that fluids aren't going to come out. I found it relatively easy to drink out of this as I was running. I didn't have to take it out. I was able to just kind of pick up the pack and squeeze liquid in as I was running. So that was really nice to be able to have with me. There were 2 bottles that came with the pack. I only brought 1 with me. I thought that'd probably be enough. I debated from a weight perspective and just kind of balancing out the pack, whether or not to bring 2 and fill each one halfway. I ended up filling up 1 all the way, which probably wasn't the best idea, but it ultimately wasn't a huge deal since today was just kind of like a run tourism, just go out there and explore kind of run, so it ended up being fine. and the amount of liquid I had was great. I ended up finishing all my liquid at about like 17 or 18 miles today. And I also brought 2 gels with me. I brought a Unived. This is an extra one that I have, but I bought one of the regular gels that was this size and one of the Elite gels, which is kind of double the size. And the way I loaded out the pack for today was I put the gels in where the other water bottle would normally go. And then I put my phone in this stretchy pocket up here. Each side has a stretchy pocket above where the water flasks go. And so that was okay. I think if I were to redo it, I would put the phone in the water flask pocket and then the gels in this zipper pocket down here. Although for this particular day, I had my cards, my key cards and a credit card in case things got, really haywire. I could always pay for stuff with the card there. So I put that in there. But I really should have just put it in this back pocket here because it's not something that I would have needed to access while running. Because what ended up happening is that this stretchy pocket doesn't go all the way down to the bottom. It only comes up to about here. And then sometimes with the way the gels were sitting in this pocket, the phone wouldn't quite go all the way in. So it was sticking out like a quarter or a half of the way out of this pocket. And so I was always, every time I was looking at the phone, I was then like kind of fighting to get everything back to slide in to the correct spaces. The other thing about this is though, even though it looks a lot like the Camelbak Octane that I've been running in, I felt like I would have really good muscle memory for where everything goes. Like for example, in this front stretchy pocket on the right hand side, it's a wide pocket on the bottom, but there's a very narrow opening at the top of it. So I think that's intended for any garbage from when you're done with your gels, but I would just put those in the zipper pockets in my shorts. And for today, I put the case for my earbuds. I was running with the Driver Elite 75T, which is how I normally run with them when I'm run commuting. And so that was in there. So I felt like reaching everything was in kind of the same spots. But this pack, the bottom seems to be a little bit wider than what I'm used to on the Camelbak Octane, my run commute bag. Or maybe it was just the way I fit it all. There's a couple of straps on the sides that you can adjust in terms of sizing how snug it's going to be around your chest. And for whatever reason, it just felt like the pack and the pockets were coming down like under my rib cage really far. And so normally I'm just kind of used to the idea where all the weight is straight, like vertical, going this way along your chest. But on this pack, I felt like things were kind of like cupping underneath onto the sides of my rib cage. It was comfortable, it was fine, but I also felt like then it was hard to really get stuff all the way in the bottom of that pocket because instead of like just throwing something in the pocket and gravity taking it straight down, I felt like I then had to like wiggle it to get it to go around that curve. I don't know if that makes sense. I think that this is a fit issue that I can kind of adjust a little bit more to avoid it. I think if I kind of plan where I'm putting the heavier objects in my pack as I'm running, that also can really help too. Again, this was just my first run, not intended to be a full-on review of this, just kind of my first impressions after my first adventure in the pack. So I think there's some things that I can really dial in to make the fit better. In terms of making the fit better as well, there are different like loops where you can attach the sternum straps, and there's 2 sternum straps. I initially rearranged where these were because I felt like they were all set a little bit too low. I wanted them a little bit higher up and spaced a little bit differently, so you can kind of unclasp them and reclasp them at a variety of different points. It's very different than kind of the slider system that I've seen on a lot of packs. The Camelbak Octane has a slider system. This has just a couple of different like loop points. And I think I prefer this because one, I think it's going to be lighter. I mean, we're talking about fractions of ounces, but I think it is going to be lighter than kind of a slider system. But also on the slider system, I do find I have to readjust it constantly because it's moving. Here, there's not a lot of movement that I can do in terms of how you're going to secure these sternum straps. So I do like the way that this works out quite a bit. From time to time, I found myself re-cinching these with the weight of the water bottle kind of bouncing around. Now, every time I run or with a pack with water flasks up front, whether it's this one or any other ones that I've run with, you guys always mention that there's so much bounce. How do I deal with it? I think that a part of it is that the slow motion kind of exacerbates what the bounce looks like. I think in real-time speed, it's not nearly as bad. And certainly when I'm running, I don't feel it. I don't feel like, man, this pack is like shaking all over the place and it's crazy. So I didn't have any issues with it at all. I felt like everything was pretty secure. Running in Austin is absolutely fantastic. It's a lot hillier than I was expecting. But anytime I was running around Lady Bird Lake, or I guess they call it a lake, but I think it's a river. I was running around that. The surface is nice and soft. I'm having this is a great city to run in. I just had a great time. There's tons of other people, except when I was really lost. But even then, there was like people rock climbing or just hiking, whatever. A very active city, even in the middle of February. Just a really great place to run, and had such a fun time. If you have any questions about the Camelbak Zephyr, put them in the comments down below. I'd love to talk to you guys about it more down there. And before I go, I do want to remind you guys about the charity runner for this week. This week it's Ramon Bautista, who's going to be running the Boston Marathon coming up, and he's raising money for NORD, the National Organization for Rare Disorders. I was happy to donate $70 of my own money, and Untitled is also going to be stepping up to support the charity runner as well. They started out with supporting the charity runner of last week, and they're going to continue through the rest of this month of February by giving you a 5% discount with the promo code that's in the description, and 5% is going to go to the charity runner of the week. So thank you so much to Untitled for stepping up and supporting members of this running community. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video, and I will see you tomorrow.
Yo, what's going on?